so I thought it would be a good idea to do a grand annual inventory review of all of them. Let me just see what I've got here. Alright, let's do a comprehensive roundup, going through everything I bought throughout this past year, what I ultimately kept, and then just do a quick simple recap of it all. Alright, so let's go through them one by one, in chronological order, shall we then? So first up, it's the 34XX right here, in my hands. Now, this 34XX, strictly speaking, isn't really a machine from last year, because it actually came out at the end of the year before. And even though a new transparent white color scheme was released early last year, I'm mentioning it here because after the new year, specifically after the 2025 holidays, I received this custom CNC metal casing for it. So, with this metal casing, it truly feels like the very first brand new and fully complete device that I've acquired throughout this entire year. All the buttons have been replaced with micro switch ones, with all buttons and the D-pad crafted from metal. The entire unit has been transformed into a full metal body. For me, this device holds significant sentimental value, which is why I find myself reaching for it and using it quite frequently in my daily life. Since this is a GBA optimized device, I mostly use it to play GBA games. Even if we consider it today, if you're looking to revisit some GBA games for a bit of nostalgia, I still firmly believe this is the absolute best console you could possibly purchase. Okay, then the second one right after that is its vertical counterpart, the 34XXSP, which mimics the GBA-SP's design. I had bought the 35XXSP before this, but because of its non-pixel perfect screen, it wasn't really a great fit for GBA games. You can tell from the scratches here that I've used this machine a lot. It's in battle-worn condition. You can see it has quite a few scratches on the body. I got this one in the Pikachu yellow color scheme, and with the Pikachu sticker it looks really great. I primarily use this machine to play GBA games and a few GBC platform games, especially the Tetris titles available on it. It has practically turned into my exclusive Tetris playing device. And as for its other features, it pretty much performs exactly as you'd expect, delivering the standard perfectly adequate performance characteristic of an H700 series device. If you're considering purchasing any of the H700 series models, these two come highly recommended by me. Next up is the Cube XX, but I've already sold my Cube XX, so we won't be discussing it any further here. Both of these models are from Joe's H700 series, placing them firmly in the same tier of performance. Next up, following closely, I recall it was Laozhang's Pixel 2. The very first Pixel 2 I bought was a red-colored one, though I eventually sold it later on. Then, later, towards the year's end, specifically in the latter half, they introduced a pink color scheme. I absolutely adored it the moment I saw it, so I purchased that pink version. I also acquired these complementary pink and silver metallic buttons to replace the original ones, giving it a customized look. However, this particular device, being a metal-cased handheld, is extremely well suited for holding and fiddling with, almost like a fidget toy. But when it comes to actually playing games, because its screen is incredibly small, coupled with a screen resolution of only 640 by 480, it truly offers a rather mediocre and barely satisfactory gaming experience. Furthermore, its battery life is also quite inadequate. But it's a really nice little gadget to hold and fiddle with, and it looks good on display too. And here's another Pixel 2. This Pixel 2 was given to me by a friend I met while exploring this hobby. He's also incredibly passionate about this series of devices, having played with them extensively from the Pixel 1 up to the Pixel 2. He dedicated a tremendous amount of time and effort to modifying them, and this is one he gifted to me. He actually modified 3 in total, pouring his heart and soul into customizing this particular machine. He poured a tremendous amount of effort into it, and he gave this device to me as a cherished symbol of our friendship, celebrating the bond we forged. This was also to commemorate our friendship, so he gifted this machine to me. He meticulously sought out and commissioned a skilled craftsman to create custom metal laser etchings featuring numerous designs of Zelda's Link. Here's the Master Sword, the Hylian Shield, and the Legend of Zelda logo. The 4 face buttons were replaced with the Breath of the Wild Divine Beast icons, and the top also features 4 Divine Beast symbols. So this device is incredibly meaningful, a gift from him to me. So that's the story with the 2 Pixel 2s. They're great to just fiddle with. And then, after that, it should be the Trimmy. Actually, the Trimmy came out quite a while ago, but their previous release was a plastic version. The one that recently came out is. I remember it came in black, red, and purple color schemes, and white too. Then later they released 2 new color options, I think. I can't quite recall. And then this year they rolled out their metallic model. Actually, back when they released the plastic one, I was already hoping they would come out with a metal version, because I think the metal one, first and foremost, I really love its aesthetic appeal. Secondly, its hand feel is quite compact. Additionally, its screen resolution is excellent. I believe it's 1024 by 768 pixels. For a small handheld, the PPI is incredibly high, I think 400 or 500. And for GBA, you can do 4x pixel perfect. Of course, you'll get a small black border, but no harm done. This one is like a plus version compared to the other two, with slightly better performance. I think it's more like a small MP4 player. It has many features you'd find on an MP4 player: watching Bilibili, reading ebooks, listening to music, watching videos. It's great to have as a small MP4 player to mess around with. But truly, when it comes to playing games, due to its grip, its angular shape, and the fact that its buttons are quite small and stiff, your hands can start to hurt after playing for a while. So I don't really play it much, but I'm absolutely captivated by its design. Then, what came after that is a second-hand device that I acquired this year. This particular machine was actually released quite a while ago. It's the Ayan Neo Pocket. The Ayan Neo Pocket S1. Mine is the white 2K screen version with 16 gigs of RAM and 512 gigs of storage. Its aesthetic appeal is fantastic. I've always loved the look of this device, and this year I bought a second-hand one in almost new condition for a good price. Its most remarkable feature is undoubtedly its 2K resolution display. And although this screen might not boast a high refresh rate, the visual impact when rendering numerous shaders on a 2K screen is quite exceptional. But because its body is crafted to be quite slender, its heat dissipation does become somewhat of a worry. This device's heat dissipation is poor, and battery life isn't good either. However, for a device boasting such commendable aesthetic appeal, aesthetically, it's a truly beautiful machine, and I think that's absolutely not an issue. Of course, beauty is subjective, but among all these devices, this is one of my personal favorites. 9 times out of 10, I previously used it for playing mobile games and some Android games. Regarding emulator games, since I own so many other devices capable of running them, I don't typically use this one for emulation, nor for game streaming either. Its chip is a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 GG2. I believe it's a G3G2 chip. I can't quite recall the exact name, but it essentially performs like a full-powered Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, delivering top-tier performance for all your needs. This device is still very good looking. Alright, so for the next one, it should be Brother Joe's machine coming up soon, which is Brother Joe's RG477M. This is one that I really appreciate. Actually, the first device to use this screen was probably Joe's RG Slide. I bought that one too, but unfortunately it was too thick and heavy, so I ended up selling it. And this is the second device to feature this particular display, the 4.7-inch 1280 by 960 resolution 4:3 aspect ratio screen. This display is probably the top tier 4:3 screen currently, boasting a 120Hz refresh rate. And this console, you can tell from my past devices, I really like metal ones. So when it came out, I got it without a second thought. I bought it immediately. Unfortunately, this device's screen color reproduction is a bit washed out, not as accurate as the RG Slide, but it's still acceptable. I also made some modifications to it. And I can give everyone a quick look at what I've done. A lot of people online have asked before, what is this thing? How is it done? You disassemble the machine, then purchase the magnetic base kit from an Xbox Elite controller. You'd grind it down to match the shape of the original buttons, remove and install it, and then these parts can simply attach magnetically onto it. This right here is its original factory issued button, and this one over here, this is a cross-shaped DPAD. The key travel distance is still quite good, and it hasn't become particularly short due to any modifications or anything of that sort. It just snaps right on. But I still love this circular D-pad. And on top of that, there's this custom made by Black Moon. This silver lion emblem matching the device's color, the ABXY buttons, and the full body. These copper-colored shoulder and function buttons. I also swapped in 2 tacky diamond joystick caps. And that's the tacky machine look. Oh, and by the way, I also bought some knockoff stickers and put them on for decoration. I personally feel this machine has a very high DIY component. I've seen many fellow enthusiasts buy this machine to spray paint it other colors, change colors, modify buttons, DIY, because the base unit is quite suitable for DIY. The cost of modding its shell is quite high. However, concerning its performance, the 8300 chip, while theoretically powerful, doesn't offer good compatibility or drivers. So when it comes to playing newer emulators, it truly doesn't possess a significant advantage over the Snapdragon. Then, later on, they introduced a plastic version of it. Everyone had really been hoping for a plastic version with that 8300 chip, but unexpectedly, Joe simply chose to prioritize exploiting customers instead. And then they launched this plastic version with the same screen, but it uses a T820 chip. When I first laid eyes on it, my initial instinct was that this machine, if completely blue, would be a stunning version. And indeed, my prediction proved correct. Let me show you from this angle. The buttons were also custom made by Black Moon, both of them. Both joystick caps were done the same way. Just get those rhinestones from Taobao, they're cheap, only a few bucks. Then sand down the original joystick tops and glue them on. It doesn't feel uncomfortable or anything when you use it. And it just so happens to have 8 facets, which gives a really strong tactile confirmation, so you know exactly which direction you're pushing. It actually works quite well. Let me show you a sample of it. Personally, I consider the 476H to be one of the more aesthetically pleasing devices Joe released this year. However, it's a pity that its initial launch price was not justified, and it faced stiff competition from both Ayan Neo and Air Mini, resulting in a significant sales failure. But luckily, Ant Manor later somewhat salvaged it. If you search for deals, this device can be had for just over $700, offering fantastic value. Its build quality and looks are excellent, especially after changing to these copper-colored crystal buttons. It's truly stunning and beautiful. You can see that I'm more into modding the shell than just using the device. It's mainly about the aesthetics. Then, many of you might have discovered me through my videos, knowing about the dual screen software I developed for the Thor, and also the dual screen tutorial video that came with it. So I actually ended up selling the Thor. I ultimately chose to keep this one, the Ayan Neo Pocket DS. Because for my personal needs, the screen aspect ratio is a really big deal to me. The Thor's bottom screen uses an 8:7 ratio, which unfortunately just doesn't quite cut it for my gaming requirements, you see. So it isn't really suitable for my gaming needs. With this, when playing 3DS, the bottom screen has the correct full screen ratio. For NDS, it's also a full 5x integer scale, which is fantastic. However, this device is also well suited for playing some demanding Android games and for engaging in cloud gaming sessions. It handles those tasks quite effectively. So I tend to use it more for streaming. What's more, this device's overall build quality is really quite impressive. That's actually one of the main reasons I decided to keep it among the 3 dual-screen Android clamshell models. And regarding the widespread issue of light bleeding on the bottom screen, I actually had someone fix that. Now, its bottom screen is perfectly flawless, no black spots, and no light bleed. So this device, among all the Android machines, is, in my opinion, the absolute king of devices this year, unequivocally #1. It can play everything, and the performance is strong enough. The only downside is that it is too big, too thick, and too clunky, so it is not very portable. But for that, there are plenty of other portable devices available. I wouldn't take this out. The final Android device I acquired this year was indeed this RGDS from Joe. Initially, I hadn't intended to purchase Joe's RGDS. However, for the very same reason as with the 476H, I stumbled upon an Ant Manor coupon, allowing me to acquire it for approximately $470. I think at this price, this machine's worth checking out, being a dual-screen clamshell. And then, as usual, it was time for the classic sticker phase. I put on all the stickers that I like, and after that, I changed the wallpaper to my favorite one, just as I always do. For this device, the hardware and build quality are quite decent for 400 Yen. However, its system and software are definitely lacking. Likely due to a rushed development or cost constraints, it utilizes the 3568 chip, which for playing NDS games. High-resolution 3D causes games to lag, so even playing NDS games can be a bit of a struggle. However, if you turn off high-resolution upscaling, playing NDS games is actually acceptable. For games that don't have high latency, it's relatively fine. I think it's a transitional model, a rushed trial product. I believe Brother Joe will definitely release an upgraded version of this model later on. An upgraded version of this particular model, or even a rendition that closely imitates the 3DS. This is the specific device that I've been using most frequently recently, mainly for playing Pokemon. Regarding the specific NDS gaming experience with this device, I've actually released a video on that previously. So if you're keen to learn more, you can definitely refer back to that earlier video. So as of this year, these are all the knockoff consoles I've purchased and ultimately decided to hold on to. While they may not remain with me indefinitely, I truly anticipate they will stay for a good while. I probably won't be getting rid of it either. Depending on next year's situation, I might decide to sell this particular unit. Generally speaking, the ones I've held on to are those I genuinely like and that possess excellent features such as the dual screen. Beyond that, there are the aesthetics I appreciate, specifically the metallic finish with crystal buttons. And then there's this one here that I had someone mod, so I'll probably keep these. Besides traditional handhelds, besides the knockoff. In addition to these knockoff handhelds, I also acquired 2 traditional handheld consoles this year. The first, naturally, is the NS2, which launched mid-year. Honestly, since I purchased the NS2, it's mostly been gathering dust. Quite a lot of dust, in fact. The primary reason is that there are virtually no games available for it. The singular NS blockbuster I bothered to buy for it is probably the NS2 version of this title. I also bought Pokemon Z for the NS2, but since it also has an NS1 version, it's not really an exclusive, and I didn't actually buy its true exclusive, East-West. Plus, most of the games available are quite old, so there's not much new to play. I've already spent a significant amount of time playing other titles, like Zelda, for instance. I've also played Tears of the Kingdom extensively. So, frankly, I'm quite fatigued with NS1 games, which is why this console is just gathering dust. Personally, I don't believe it's a worthwhile purchase at this specific moment. Perhaps it'll be more appealing once its game library becomes richer. At this juncture, you'd frankly be better served acquiring an NS Lite. Honestly, the NS Lite is just more portable and offers a more complete experience. The other traditional handheld I have is the PlayStation Protobo 3000. For reasons that are pretty well known, I'm not going to use its abbreviation here. I'll just say the full name to avoid any potential problems with this video. I actually bought this specific console from a dedicated Nintendo fan. From a group that, at the year's end, launched this PlayStation Protobo 3000, which features an IPS fully laminated screen. The ultimate outcome is quite comparable to the Toshiba display utilized on the 07G motherboard. I'm able to demonstrate it to you right here. Once installed, its full lamination effect offers exceptional clarity, and the brightness is remarkably intense. When filmed here, it's slightly overexposed. I'll turn down the brightness all the way so you can clearly see the pixel grid's density. There are absolutely no horizontal lines. Each pixel is distinct and sharp, creating a truly precise point-to-point sensation. The granular pixel effect is genuinely remarkable. However, in my personal opinion, this screen modification isn't an essential upgrade. This isn't necessarily a must-have. However, if you already own a 3000 console that's showing some wear and tear from extensive use, and you're considering purchasing this for a shell replacement along with a screen upgrade, I believe that if you tend to use this particular machine quite frequently, then it could genuinely be considered a worthwhile investment, making it definitely worth the effort. I used to look at those grand, powerful images and think they seemed a bit antiquated. But now, I'm really beginning to understand and appreciate the distinct pixelated texture and the sensation it provides. So, after this device was refitted with a custom-made domestic shell and this additional modification, with an IPS full lamination screen, it's really become a highly collectible item worth nostalgic preservation, and the overall cost isn't even that exorbitant, making it quite excellent for a nostalgic indulgence. Alright, so that concludes this video, outlining all the devices I purchased and ultimately retained throughout the entirety of last year, 2025. The devices I've purchased and subsequently sold are not included here.